Festool's newest track saw will cut better than any other track saw on the market, and it's all because of this. The TSV60 KEB, not to be confused with the summer launch of the TS60. Now, the first thing that I'm gonna say is the saw itself is the same capacity, all the same great things. If you're somebody that cuts a lot of delicate materials, in this case, I'm gonna be doing the demonstration on melamine, then this is the track saw for you because it does a better job than any other track saw at cutting this. And I would argue that it actually will do a better job than most table saws unless you have a slider that has a scoring blade. Now, a lot of people don't have that luxury. Well, guess what? Festool put a scoring blade into a track saw and it will give perfect cuts. First things first, I want to explain the difference between this saw and the summer launch of the TS60 because this right here is an additional motor housing and this here is the scoring blade mechanism. Now there's a few key things is this can be turned off by doing that, flipping that switch. I can turn it off or I can turn it on. So with that being said, you can use this saw just like you would the TS60 or any other track saw because you can activate or disengage this scoring blade feature. And the other two knobs that you see, this here and this here, this will raise and lower the scoring blade, and this will move the scoring blade left or right. Now, why would you need to move the scoring blade left or right or up or down? Because the very first thing that you're gonna do when you get this saw is you are actually going to get everything in alignment to make sure that the scoring blade is cutting exactly in line with the blade itself. Now, when I got my saw, it may have already been perfectly aligned, but I don't know because the very first thing that I did is changed all the settings. And I did that to force myself to go through the process to make sure I fully understand it. It is a very simple process. You just start making the cuts, you realize I need to go right or left, you move right or left until you are in line with the blade. And then you can just raise or lower the depth just to make sure that you're getting the right width that you need for the scoring pass. All in all, this only took maybe 4 minutes to get this thing dialed in exactly how I wanted it. And I'm not gonna get real detailed in this video. Again, go over to Festool. Sedge did a fantastic video walking you step by step how to go through that process. Now, the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a cut using just the blade, not using the scoring blade. So I'm gonna go ahead and disengage that. The scoring blade will not be cutting. Make a cut and I'll show you what it looks like. As long as this stays in focus, you should be able to see right there we've got some chip out, right there we've got some significant chip out, right here we keep moving down, we got some more right there. It's along the entire piece, there's chip out in different locations. Another one right there. I don't know if it's gonna pick it up on camera because it is so minimal, but even when it was under the splinter guard with no scoring blade, you can see there is a little bit of roughness on the edge, some very light, small tear out. Now you may be thinking like, that's really not that big of a deal. It's so minimal, it's barely gonna be noticeable, but you'll know if you've ever worked with a material like this, the minute that you put edge banding on it, it is gonna stick out like a sore thumb. And there are not a lot of great ways to fix this. Until now, I'm gonna make a cut and I'm gonna show you. Now we wanna use the scoring blade. We're gonna go ahead and activate that. And we wanna make sure that we start the saw off of the material just like you would any other time, and then that way the scoring blade will start making the cut prior to the blade. Let's go ahead and do it. Now this is the side that we just cut, and I will just go down. There is absolutely zero tear out. Not one spot is there even the smallest chip or anything. It is truly remarkable how perfect of a cut this is. And it also took care of the very slight chip out that we had even underneath the guard. I mean, it is absolutely perfect, and that is a perfect edge for you to apply your edge banding to. To give you an even better visual, I'm gonna do a quick demo and then bring you in close so you can see them side by side very clearly. At the demos or the shows that they have this cool little board that has multiple cuts in it. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a cut without the scoring blade activated, and then I'm gonna do a cut right next to it with the scoring blade, and you'll be able to see side by side the differences. All right, first cut without. Turn on my scoring blade, do the next cut right next to it. Hopefully you'll be able to pick this up, maybe a little blinding because this is so bright. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna point out the spots that I can visually see chip out. Here, 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 all through here, and out here. Now, believe it or not, this cut actually isn't nearly as bad as the first demo that I showed you, just the standard blade. But if I was to show you the next one with the scoring pass, I cannot find any chip out marks because it is literally a perfect cut. And then this is also a great representation of what that scoring blade is doing. It's just cutting maybe a half of a millimeter deep or so. It's just breaking that surface, and it's going in the opposite direction of the main blade, and it's a diamond tipped blade. So that is just breaking up that surface, giving you that perfect, nice, clean cut, and then your regular blade is coming back through and not dealing with any of these edges. The pricing on the TSV60 is going to come in two different configurations. You're going to have $999, which will come with just the saw and not the addition of the FS 1900 rail, or at $1,175 with the rail, which is a great value. And it's also recommended that you get it with the rail because the additional length of the saw, the FS 1900 rail is going to give you that additional length needed. You're getting the ability to have a scoring blade in a track saw. That's still so crazy to me. A scoring blade in a track saw. One thing that I didn't even mention is that this does have the ability for you to limit the main blade. So if you had to do a plunge cut into a, let's say a countertop, you could actually score the cut first if it was a material like this. So in that instance, you're not giving up the scoring ability. Now remember, I showed you can actually turn off the scoring blade feature. So if you didn't need to use it, you don't have to use it, right? Like you wouldn't want to use it in every scenario with every material. And I've already been asked this a lot. They're like, well, the TS60's out, but I know the TSV60's coming out. Should I wait? My honest opinion is that this saw is not needed by most people. And I say that because in all reality with what most of us are doing, I mean, it's a very specific saw. It is designed to take care of a very specific problem, and they've nailed it. I mean, they have absolutely done it. This is an excellent solution if you're somebody using these materials. My personal belief would be, don't feel like that's the most expensive one, I need that, and if I don't use a scoring blade, I'll just shut it off. Remember, you do have to deal with a weight difference between the two. I brought this point up in a video I did a long time ago on the TS55 versus the TS75. 75 will do everything the 55 does, but you have to deal with the additional weight, and it's a much bigger saw. So if you were gonna use this and only use the scoring feature once in a blue moon, do you want to deal with the additional weight when you could have a lighter option that is going to have all the same capacity? And again, if you want to find out more information about the saw itself, which will apply to this, you can watch the video that I did earlier on this saw. It's a phenomenal saw, and it will give you perfect results. Perfect. Not like, okay, it's a little bit better. Perfect. Don't think that just because this is the most expensive one, that this is the one that everybody needs. There's a market for this, and there is a market for this. There's a market for the cordless. There's a market for everything. But if you're looking for a really amazing, amazing track saw that no other company can compete with, then the TSV60 is probably the best bet.